Welcome to another Drunken Wizards. I'm Christopher Hitchcock.
And I'm Matthew Marler.
And we also have today with us,
Trenton Brand.
once again, and we also have someone new today, and this is...
Chris Lewandowski.
Alright. So today we're going to go ahead and just get into our question of the week, since nothing came out, unless we want to talk about Step 4. Okay, no one wants to talk about Step 4. No one wants to talk about Step 4. Alright, so our question is, we're going to have two questions this time around. Our first question is going to be, since Batman has been kind of talking about a lot recently, and we don't necessarily agree with a lot of the casting that was done, especially when it comes to Batman. Now, the question is going to be, who would you have play Batman in your version of a Batman movie? And on top of that, who would be your villain and who would play them?
Yeah. So pretty much the rogue gallery of, like, who would we like to see and who would play them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Chris, do you want to start off?
Well, see, I was kind of hoping someone else would start off because my whole entire thing is that I'm one of those people where I think I would rather have someone be an unknown as Batman. Just because that way you have a person who's fresh and you can't judge him from any of his past work. I think that's one of the reasons why I think Christopher Reeves, when he was starting out, was decent because he was an unknown until that movie.
Right.
So I think that you could do something like that with a character like Batman, especially if you have it set up with, like, you have Batman and you don't know, even though you know who that Batman is Bruce Wayne, you could have someone come in and play Bruce Wayne and kind of keep it as a mystery of who Batman is.
And I totally agree with that. And I'll say it right now, I still to this day, and I've thought about it constantly, I don't know who would play my Bruce Wayne or my Batman. Because I haven't found the perfect, who I believe. So, I mean, that's a great idea. A fresh face.
A fresh face. And, it's just like, well, why don't you get, like, Nicolas Cage to be Bruce Wayne? And just
he's already Superman.
Yeah, he's already Superman. It's in Tim Burton's universe of Superman. But,
God, I wish that movie would have been made.
Me too. I like the outfit. Would have been really shiny. Chris is shaking his head.
I'm sorry, dude. Nick Cage can play anything, in my opinion. God. I love that man. But I'm sorry, dude. I do. Everything he does is gold. I watched The Rock the other day. Beautiful movie.
That is a fun movie. All right.
Sean Connery's good.
All right. So Sean Connery would be your Batman.
Sean Connery would be my Alfred.
Oh. Yeah. So, his girlfriends would come over, Bruce Wayne's girlfriends would come over, and just
Sean Connery
get out of the bed
him.
now.
Yeah.
But was that joke dark?
No.
I don't know. With Connery, it's like in Rises, you've got Bane's kind of like a Sean Connery impersonation. That voice,
Bane,
it kind of echoed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I have heard people say,
weird.
and that it was like a Sean Connery-esque, and I was like, I just thought it was bad.
I've heard someone describe it as like a James Bond villain, not necessarily Sean Connery, especially when he has like, "You have my permission to die."
Yeah.
That kind of line. But yeah. So, anyone else with Batman ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling you, I would cast John Hamm, because I just think that he already plays the dual role pretty much on Mad Men, between having to play a dark, strong character, whereas he has to play someone who's kind of a public figure as well, and he just sort of balances the duality pretty evenly between the two, and I don't know, I see him physically as Batman.
Yeah.
Physically as Batman.
And we've talked about it, Chris and our buddy Donovan Hitchcock and Donovan said that they think he would be a good Superman, more so than a Batman. John Hamm on that aspect, but yeah, I think he's got the jawline for it, and because I think back to the movie with Ben Affleck, The Town, where he played the cop, and he was like clean shaven because he kind of got the scruff on Mad Men sometimes, But yeah, I think he's got like a perfect jawline for a Batman.
Yeah, but not just what you were saying, because one of the hardest things about Batman, and I think it is the breaking factor when you decide who's going to play Batman, is are they better Bruce Wayne or are they better Batman?
Yeah.
And what you were saying is that what was his name?
John Hamm.
John
Hamm. He, like you said, he has that duality that he can perform and bring to the role, which is exactly what Batman needs.
Now, we kind of touched on it, but, like, if you were casting a Batman, what would you, or who would you try to cast first, Bruce Wayne or Batman?
I would honestly try to cast Batman, because the way I would do a Batman movie, kind of like as I was saying earlier, I would not have it be entirely about Batman. Like, I would not have Batman as necessarily a main character, but definitely a major influence on what's going on in the story.
Right.
Like, I would probably focus on Jim Gordon as the main character. And I would keep a mystery of who Batman was, even though we all know that it's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
You know, it just have it be like this figure that comes in, destroys crime every now and then. You know, we try to figure out who it is and if he's helping the city or not. You know, maybe switch over to Batman every now and then when he is Batman. But yeah, that's...
Yeah. And I do like that idea. I've always loved Jim Gordon as a character, especially... And I base a lot of stuff, we were talking about it earlier, off the 90s cartoon, the animated series. And I love Jim Gordon in that series because, you know, he... I don't know. A lot of movies, I don't think, pinpoint who Jim Gordon is. And the fact is like... He's an expert marksman, obviously, but, like, he's a brawler as well. I think he, like, boxed, like, when you break down his story, I think he, like, boxed in college or something like that. And
Year One touches on that a lot.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay, because, yeah. And I've thought of something I would like to see with Jim Gordon. I just don't know if it would translate to film very well. I think it's more of a comic book aspect. But I thought it would be cool to do a story where... Take what's his name? Thomas Elliot Hush, basically, is like stolen Jim Gordon's identity, and like maybe Jim Gordon, they kill Jim Gordon or they just lock him up, whatever it may be. But pretty much you have an imposter running around as Jim Gordon, kind of messing things up, and like, but he's still trying to keep the bond with Batman and try to make Batman believe that he's trying to do this for the greater good or whatever. I thought that would actually be a cool thing to do. But
so Hush would be your villain that you would pick?
I would actually really like to see Hush. Okay. Who to play him? I mean, that's rough. Obviously, most of the time he would be bandaged or have somebody else's face on. But when they actually showed him, I don't know who would play him right now.
All right, I can't really think of anyone as Hush, mainly because that's one of the few comic storylines of Batman I still haven't read.
Right.
But yeah, I think that would be an interesting one. Me personally, I'm one of those guys where Riddler is one of my absolute favorite villains, period. Like, I just love the idea of a person that's constantly trying to prove that he's smarter than everybody else. And
he gets off on it. Like, he knows that he is, and he's just like...
Yeah, and to the point where he will kill people just to prove a point. Yeah. And I really like the idea that someone came up with that... what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio might be an interesting Riddler. I think it'd be an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But I think I would definitely... I would like to see it before I would say yes, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
But yeah, Riddler would be the choice that I would have for a Batman movie. And, like, I like Batman Forever. I think it's a fun, campy movie. Right. But Jim Carrey is not the Riddler. It's Jim Carrey as a Batman villain. You know?
Yeah. I don't know, like, we've talked about it before, and the lines that they had, obviously the costume in that movie was ridiculous, but
spandex. It's
spandex.
not bad when he introduces him. He takes the off the game. He takes that costume at first.
Yeah. But it's the spandex and, like, the question marks all over the place. And then, like, this purple, or the pink, where it's, like, a crew cut, like, military-style haircut.
When it gets towards the end of the movie.
I was like, what the hell?
It's not even green anymore, it's just silver. But,
yeah.
It's terrible.
But it's fun, and again, it's more just Jim Carrey being a Batman villain. But yeah, another character I would like to see done in a Batman movie more correctly is Mr. Freeze.
Oh, I agree.
Just because Mr. Freeze is an interesting character. I mean, granted, you can't really do too much with his character, which I think is probably the downfall of the Sub-Zero movie.
Yeah,
that animated movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was really cool that he had polar bears, but
If anybody had polar bears, it would just be
Mr.
amazing. Well, that kind of brings up my question. And obviously, I think since the Nolan films have come out, everyone is looking at Batman in this like realistic light. But you got to look at some of the villains in Batman's story. You got people like Clayface, Man-Bat. You know, there's Killer Croc. Like this stuff that I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, do you think you could do a Batman with those characters and still make it believable?
No, there's no way. Like if you have Poison Ivy,
but
if you have Poison Ivy in a storyline, there's no way that you can make her, like realistic in any sense. Yeah, you can make her a botanist that's crazy and whatnot, but her plants tend to have a tendency of like walking up out of the ground and eating people.
Right.
You know, and just you can't like make anything that like that realistic. And if you do that, it probably end up being like Catwoman, where her character would probably be pointless in the grand scheme of things, and it would just be an underuse of the character.
Yeah. Well, and I guess realistic is not what I was going for. I'm trying to say, like, do you think you could do a character like Clayface? And I've brought this up before, and somebody was like, oh, he'd probably just kind of look like Sandman in the Spider-Man 3 movie, but, you know, obviously mud instead of sand. But I would like to see certain characters
get more
in
out of
film.
it.
Yeah, like in film, like Killer Croc. I would love to see Batman go against Killer Croc in a good movie.
Yeah. Well,
so
are you almost saying like let the Batman series bleed a little more sci-fi fantasy like the Lord of the Rings stuff, or just let it go?
Do you think it could be done?
Yeah,
and like and be good. That's my thing. Like, but what I was trying to say is like I think now that the Nolan films have come out, I don't know if people would, you know, enjoy something like that because it's not realistic enough.
Well, see, here's the thing. They're talking about making a Justice League movie. And eventually you're going to have to bring Batman into a Justice League movie.
I just love those chuckles.
My thing is that if you're going to have a character like Superman who's going to be fighting aliens, how is it going to be so weird to have, like, a man who looks like a crocodile come out of the sewer? You know, it's one of the reasons why I'm thankful that a Justice League movie is going to be coming out. That way we can get more sci-fi Batman. You know, get characters like Clayface and...
You're shaking your head?
Well, it's a mess. It's a mess like Avengers because it's immediately predictable. You're going to put all these people together and they're going to win, and you're just going to essentially just kind of enjoy watching them do what you already know they can do. And it's, why not play a video game? I mean, you know what I mean? It just kind of defeats it as a movie, I think.
I agree with you, like,
but at the same time, what other movie have we seen where a whole bunch of different characters from 6 different movies get together in one place and fight evil?
Expendables.
Touche. I'll give you that.
While you were building that up, I was like, oh, please. I was like, let me say it.
I'll give you that one.
You're taking away storytelling, and you just immediately make the entire thing eye candy. Really.
Well, I mean, yeah, I will admit a lot of Avengers is eye candy. I still think the story is fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, now that we've had this movie, we can go on to a movie where it's a bit more complex and deeper and actually develop a story.
I mean, I'm not saying, like, don't explore the universe and interconnect your characters, but do you really want to watch an Avengers 2 now where they just do the same thing again? Because that's essentially your only concept now.
I actually kind of do. Well, here's the thing, like, again, I think when you go into a movie like the Avengers, I already know that it's going to be... Oh, man, how am I going to put this? When I go into Batman, I realize that Nolan was wanting to make it more realistic. So when I go into Avengers, I know they're going to let things slide, and it's going to be more comic booky. And with Avengers 2, I think it's going to be great because you have a character like Thanos who I'm just super excited to see.
Here's the thing. I'm now excited about Iron Man 3 because they've confirmed Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin.
Really?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that makes me really... Like, he has the rings and everything.
That's awesome.
So it's one of those just like, that's great because now you can get more sci-fi like the comics are. And it's one of the things where it's just like, in the end, you have to admit that comics are goofy.
Yeah.
No matter what era of comics that you're reading, they still get a little bit weird and odd.
Right.
Again, Superman is a person that comes from another planet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. You really do, obviously, when you watch the Avengers movie, you have to go out on a little bit of a limb because it's not going to be... You can't go in and be like, the guy can't call lightning to his hammer and fly around. Like, you have to...
Oh, don't worry. It's because he's an alien.
Oh, yeah,
and aliens use magic as science.
It's true.
But
Michael Bay was going to prove that in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh my god. Terrible.
So glad it got
no offense.
put on the back shelf.
Why'd you go there?
Actually, here's the thing. Now that you brought that up, Michael Bay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, from what he was sounding like, I thought he should have just called it Battletoads.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I honestly
Now that
thought
would be
it
a great movie. If they could make a Battletoads versus Double Dragons movie like the game,
there you go.
My goodness.
Make another Double Dragons movie? Is that what you're saying?
I would like to see that as well, because we talked about Mario Brothers, and people thought that was bad.
Channing Tatum and Double Dragon.
Oh my god! Channing Tatum. He would. He would have to be.
God. They
made
a Double Dragon movie.
No, I know. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were
the
like
dude that
water
gets
chases
jacked
and
up
everything.
on the... Like, starts to get, like, really balloony.
Channing Tatum, Mark Wahlberg, Double Dragon.
Oh
my god.
There it is. Take that, Hollywood. Make it happen.
They would so do that.
They would, too. They're
They
probably
would do
thinking
it.
about it. They probably have it already cast, and they're just, like, regurgitating something in space. Who knows?
We're going to go out and see Wreck-It Ralph, and there's going to be a trailer for Double Dragon.
Channing Tatum. No!
God.
That's happened to me so many times. I've come up with something, and then I'll see it, like, a few days later, and I'm like,
Just
this is so weird. Why is this happening?
All right, so that's actually a pretty awesome segue for us to get into the second question.
All right.
Which is, if you can pick something to adapt, what would it be? Who would be the stars of your film as your characters, and who would you have direct it?
And we came up with this as well. It can be like actors who have passed away or present or
Same
just
with directors.
anyone, ever. So
Yes.
I mean, I guess I'll start with mine. Honestly, and I first envisioned this as more of a sequel, but I could still do an adaptation of it. The Last Dragon. I want to see that movie redone or sequeled so bad because I love it so much. And here has been my idea for it, which I would think would be
I love it. I love it. I'm sorry. I love Double Dragon. Not Double Dragon.
Last Dragon.
We're mixing our dragons up. But
Don't mix
Show
dragons.
Enough is one of the best villains ever. in a
Kiss
movie.
my Converse. That is one of the best lines in a movie ever. Have you seen The Last Dragon? Okay. Oh man, we gotta have a movie night because I don't think Donovan has either. But what I envision for that movie is I would love to see different factions. Like I would like to see different schools of martial arts, and each one of their masters is the master of that school because they have reached the glow.
Okay.
And I would love to see, like, think about it. You could have, like, Bruce Lee teaching a school, Tony Jaa from, like, the, Protector and On Bak movies. I think he would play a different, great different fighting style for a school. You can do Jackie Chan, like, Jet Li could do one. I mean, those are obviously just the big names of that. But, like, to have them have their own school. And I think you kind of dabbled on it with casting of a Batman. I think my main actor, like the kid who would basically be intertwined in all of this, I'd like to see him as a no-name, because I'm sure there's a kid out there that, martial arts style and nobody's really seen, or God forbid it, not Will Smith's son, and that was terrible. But I think that would be really, really cool to see. Different schools, each master have got the glow, maybe like the Sho'nuff characters trying to like dismantle them, and I don't know. I would love to see it.
Yeah,
Love to see it.
Yeah, Bruce Leroy is a really interesting character, and
he would have his own school, like teaching as well.
Yeah, so
That would be
you'd
great.
have it kind of like the Warriors a little bit, where there's different gangs.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
But and I would still set it in like Harlem, like have it where it's like Motown still, because I love that about the movie.
Here's the big question about that, though.
Who would direct it?
No. What time period do you set it in?
What time period?
Yeah, do you still have it be the 80s, or do you have it modern day?
Man. And again, like, part of the reason that movie is so great is because it's got that 80s cheese to it, you know? But I would like to see it modern day. I'll say that now.
I would disagree with you. I think it would
Keep
be
it
great.
in the 80s.
Well, not maybe make it 90s. You know, make it like 3 years later. You know, but yeah, I would like to see a Double Dragon.
You see, Channing Tatum and Mark Wahlberg have blown your mind. Like you can't get off. You cannot get off of a Double Dragon.
Okay, here's the question about the Double Dragon movie, though. Who is the Shadow Boss?
Who's the Shadow Boss?
Is it Channing Tatum or Mark Wahlberg?
Depends on who's Billy or Jimmy.
Yeah, I would have to. Who was the blonde? That was Jimmy. I mean, in the game, Jimmy becomes Shadow Boss, right? The blonde-haired one.
So. Yeah, it's the blue one, isn't it? That becomes the Shadow Boss. Yeah.
No, it's the red one.
It's one of them.
Yeah. Honestly, I would like to see Mark Wahlberg be Shadow Boss.
I think I would, because he can get a bit darker than Channing Tatum.
Channing
I
Tatum.
mean, granted, he was great at Magic Mike.
Oh, God.
Oh, Chris, you're swooning. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, you had to do you just had to go there. Jeez.
Jesus, guys, I'm trolling.
So, but yeah, and I didn't put in who would direct it, and that's really tough. Because, I mean, who directs, like, good action, or, like, kung fu flicks anymore? You still got, oh, man, what's that guy's name that did, like, a bunch of the Jet Li movies, Kiss the Dragon and stuff like that? I can't think of his name.
I can't.
Damn it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, that's the weakness in my argument in this topic. I probably shouldn't have said director, because I'm not that big on directors either.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yep.
So, all right, that's mine. Last Dragon, I think it'd be great. So.
Last Dragon? All right. Okay. All right, for mine, one thing I would really, really love to do is I would love to do a Devilman story.
Yeah.
Devilman is one of my absolute favorite mangas ever. It's so freaking tragic when it gets to the end. And it's just such an awesome character and a storyline, and there is a live-action Devilman movie that was done in Japan, but it's really weird. Just to kind of talk about that movie real quick, it follows what happens in the manga a little bit beat by beat, changing one or two things around. Like, there's not as many child deaths in the movie, and that would be one thing I would change. I would have kids being killed because, well, no, because it's horrifically tragic when it happens in the comics. Like, they actually have one character, this little boy, getting killed by his parents who have been possessed by demons.
Jesus.
And it's like this whole entire, like, if you see something going wrong with a kid and his parents, you need to tell somebody. Like, that's the underlying message of that story.
Right.
Because basically a kid is put in that situation, he doesn't tell anybody, and the kid ends up dead. So, but anyway, there's stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
And it's just horrific, and it's really strong imagery here and there. And the movie, it tries to capture some of the imagery, especially the most powerful one, which is towards the end, which, not to give too much away, but it's what happens to a character's body when they die.
Oh, okay.
And they kind of cheese it up a little bit, and I didn't really care for that too much, where in the comic it's horrifying. Seeing this character that you've known for so long.
Right.
You've seen this person interact with just about everyone who's been a main part of the story, who has major ties with the main character, and just body was defiled.
Yeah.
And just horrific. And in the movie, it's just kind of goofy. It's just a really bad effect. But
so who you're casting wise?
Casting wise, here's the thing with Akira, the main character of Devilman. You would kind of have to play a Batman kind of situation where not so much for the entirety of the movie, but at the beginning of the movie and towards the end. Because at the beginning of the movie, he's supposed to be one of the most purest people on the planet. And towards the end, when he gets possessed by the demon and overtakes the demon's power, he becomes a kind of a darker person.
Okay.
Like his whole entire tone changes. And I would really kind of like to get someone who has been known to do more kiddish kind of stuff, and then push him to do darker things. And one person, and this is going to sound goofy, I kind of like to see a Zac Efron.
Zac Efron?
Yeah, because it's one of those where it's just like, you know what? A lot of people would see him as just like he's a kid.
Yeah.
He's a kid. He doesn't know what he's doing as an actor. But if you go ahead and I think with certain directors, you can push people to do certain things.
Yeah.
And if you
want to make it as an actor, you better be able to be versatile.
Right. And I think that's exactly what you need. Maybe Zac Efron isn't the best choice because you might not be able to push him to that darker area, but...
When you said kid, I thought like Macaulay Culkin.
He might be one of the kids that gets killed, but...
Yeah, that's tough though. I'm trying to think of someone who plays like more of a light-hearted personality that you could push to a dark, and it's just not clicking. It's just not clicking yet.
And again, it's a hard thing to do, and I think it's one of the hardest challenges when you would do a movie like that. But something else I would like to do, but this isn't mandatory, my dream thing is that I would like to also do like a Cutie Honey movie and a Mazinger Z movie, and I would like to have them intertwine with each other. Like I have at one moment in each movie where the characters meet each other and affect their storyline. And like my prime example would be like there'll be a fight scene where, this would be like between Cutie Honey and Mazinger Z, where Cutie Honey is chasing one of the villains down a hallway, and the giant robot from Mazinger Z punches through the wall and blocks the path of the character running through, and the robot arm just kind of pulls out, and Cutie Honey looks up and sees Mazinger Z fighting another robot, and then they run off and go back into the regular storyline.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be one of those things where it just, like, it'd be kind of like how Avengers is, but
it's just mixing.
Yeah, it just shows that the characters are all within one universe, and there's multiple things happening at a time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that would be more interesting, and that's what I wanted more from the Avengers movies, more than anything, was to have that kind of interconnectivity. And I would love to do something like that with like a Devilman movie.
I was about to say, if, like, on the topic of like crossovers and stuff, that can be a topic for another day. But I definitely have thought of a few things I would love to see intertwine in a universe. So
yeah, I think that'll have to be another day.
Yeah.
But Chris,
do
you have anything?
I don't have a serious one because it sounds kind of like a passion topic. You know, something that somebody's thought over a little while, but. If we're just screwing around a little bit, maybe you do the Star Fox movie and you get the Carfax Fox as the
Carfax
as the lead.
Oh God,
Dude, that would be awesome.
You could get the Geico lizard to play like Slippy or something.
Yeah, dude.
Why not?
Yes. The world's long overdue for 3 hours in an hour win.
But see,
That's pretty much all you got.
But here's the thing, though.
God.
Whoever Slippy is, I hope she dies early. Because I fucking hated saving Slippy's ass in the
Here's
game
the thing,
all
you
the
can
damn
have
time.
Mordecai from regular show as Falco.
Yeah.
Right.
God.
It's actually perfect.
All you need is a good Peppy and you are set.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dude,
a
get the
rabbit.
pick from Babe.
Yeah. And what was the commander? The commander was like a dog, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a dog.
Yeah,
It's like
the
a-
dog was like a greyhound.
Yeah.
Little thing.
McGruff.
You could get
You're
Clooney
dead.
to play his dad at the end from Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh my God.
Okay,
This is the
here's
best
a big
idea
question:
ever.
Who plays Andros?
Yeah, Andros.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
And do you
Gary Busey.
Well, he's like a monkey, though.
Because that man is a creature within himself.
God.
Yeah, and who would direct it?
You know,
We just
it's
can't
gonna
come
be
up with
Brett
a
Ratner. Is
Brett-
that what we're
Brett
going with?
Ratner
Just hand it over
film.
to quality hands.
Joe Schumacher.
I'm just glad no one said Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Hopefully no one hears that. Just like
I hope Michael Bay hears that.
I hope he does.
I always thought it'd be funny to like try to get him on the phone and just talk about how bad 3D sucks and have him defend it. Be like, dude, 3D is awesome. Transformers.
Yeah.
Just cannot stand. Again, I'm so glad Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got the can, but that's got to be one of the best things I've ever heard. I'm sorry, a Star Fox movie and have like actual commercial
Recognizable,
characters. Oh my God, that's a great idea.
Genius.
I like it. I like it a lot. But so I unless we want to get back on Batman, because I know we cut that a bit short because we had talked about a couple other things, like we had talked about Hugo Strange.
I was about to say, let's real quick. We can recap like what we were talking about earlier on like villains in general, and
more like a casting who would fit these roles best.
Even if we didn't use them in a movie, like who we think would be the best, and
I mean, I like Robin Williams as Strange. I think physically, plays the role. He's also just mentally disturbed enough.
Yeah. Like the movie
1 hour. What's the 1 hour photo?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, the movie I was going to mention was Death to Smoochie.
Oh, yes.
Like, in that movie, he's basically a Batman villain.
Yeah.
Well, what is his name? Like, Mr. Rainbow Bright or something like that?
Randall something.
Yeah, Randall. Yeah.
Rainbow Randall?
Rainbow Randall.
Yeah, that scene where, like, he's, like, standing over the guy who plays Smoochie and screaming at him in the face. Like, that scene's frightening. Like, it's...
Yeah. Have you seen Robin Williams lately, though? Like, he's got the beard going on, so if you just shaved his head, like, he would be, perfect Hugo Strange.
Yeah, because, like, he actually has the beard in, it was The Legend of Zelda... commercial for the Ocarina of Time on 3DS.
With his daughter Zelda.
Ridiculous. Which I thought was cute.
Yeah. I've said this before, Penguin, I think the best Penguin would be Bob Hoskins. Because, and I've gotten in so many discussions, people are like, oh, he can never do Penguin, he's just not like, he's not much of a villain. And I'm like, he's a mob, like, just make him a mob boss, that's all he is, you know? And like, you don't have to turn him into Danny DeVito Penguin, but you could make his nose a little bit, longer and like maybe
a little deformed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean... I'd actually kind of like to see Patton Oswalt as Penguin.
As Penguin?
I think it'd be fun, especially after seeing him in the movie Young Adult. As depressing as that movie fucking was, as much as I didn't care for it all that much, Patton Oswalt is freaking brilliant in that movie, and I can really see acting chops on that guy, especially when it comes to drama.
Right.
So I think he would make a really fun Penguin, because he could be both funny and,
kind of dark.
Yeah, kind of dark at the same time.
Maybe Jack Lemmon, if you're going back in time. Just a little bit.
Terrible with
he
names.
never quite got to go dark enough in any of the stuff he got cast in, but The Apartment's a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Grumpy old man.
Yeah.
Grumpy old man.
Well, I mean, but...
But, Donovan, you had actually mentioned a really good one for Joker. If you want to mention that one.
I don't remember. Who did I say?
I actually don't remember either.
A younger Lance Henriksen.
Oh, yeah.
Just because he's got so many crazy lines in his face. I don't know, I think he'd make a good Joker if he was younger, maybe prior to Aliens, in between Pumpkinhead. That time era.
I think...
I like Lance Henriksen.
Yeah. He was an Aliens fan so much. It just hit me. I actually think, I don't know if anybody would agree with this, but a Riddler just hit me.
Like, really? Someone just
Riddle.
came in?
Yeah.
Hit me Riddler came in and beat you over the head with a cane?
I actually was thinking, like, Crispin Glover, I think would be a good Riddler. It literally just hit me, and I was like, I think he would play a very, very good Riddler.
Yeah.
Because what was the movie I was thinking?
Oh,
Hot Tub Time Machine, where he plays the bellhop. That's what I envisioned, and I was like, oh my god, he could be Riddler.
Actually, I just had one that just kind of hit me. I forget the guy's name, but the guy who played Hellboy.
Oh, Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman as Clayface.
He actually, his face is already so jacked up.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
I mean, it would be one of those things that you'd see him as CGI most of the time, but like the before story, or if you want to tackle his origin, I think he would be great, and also I think he'd have the perfect voice for it as well.
Yeah, I actually agree on that.
So,
if the property comes full circle and falls into Burton's hands, do you let him use Depp again as the Mad Hatter in a cross character role?
Oh god.
That would be fun. I don't know if it would be good, but I think it would be fun.
The Mad Hatter, just to me, I can't take him seriously in the animated series. I don't...
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing, like, it really is hard to take the Mad Hatter seriously, but I remember reading a comic somewhere where Batman basically breaks it down and says that of all of the people that he has come to face, Mad Hatter is, like, one of the worst, because he's unpredictable. Like, he's so crazy, and he's not like Joker, who you can kind of you know, Joker obviously just wants to have fun with it, and then the Riddler obviously is trying to be so smart, but the Mad Hatter's just, and the fact that he goes for kids, like, it really freaks, you know, Batman out.
There's one good animated series episode that's got him where he really focuses on Alice and that little girl.
Yeah.
And maybe the story's got to go that direction.
Right.
It's got to, just to take him seriously, because it just seems like, from my relationship with Mad Hatter, it's always kind of just goofy shit.
And speaking of kind of off topic, but, and again, I don't think it would adapt a film very well, but I've always thought of this comic book idea because Batman is already so, you know, seeped in Alice in Wonderland already, because you got, like, the Mad Hatter. They actually have, like, a Tweedledee and a Tweedledum characters that are just, like, goofy brothers that are hired thugs. But I always would love to see something where it's like Batman in Wonderland, where you have Batman as Alice. Jim Gordon would be, like, the White Knight. Killer Croc would be the Jabberwocky. And then you'd have, like, Harley Quinn playing the Red Queen. Like, and I've gone through and I was like, man, this would be really cool, you know, to see. Again, I don't know if it would adapt a film. But.
Well, it lets you get back into what you were talking about earlier about not having it be so set in the real world with the Nolan films and taking it more in this fantasy direction.
And in that story, I always thought it would be great to have, like, Mad Hatter and Scarecrow team up. And that's why, like, you know, he basically, Scarecrow does the fear gas and, like, gets everybody knocked out, and then the Hatter puts the hats on everyone that make them, you know, go into that world. But I always thought it would be a cool story. But that's something I was going to bring up on the female end. Like, who do you guys think would be a good, like, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn? Even if you want to throw in heroes like Black Canary or
here's my thing when it comes to female. When it comes to female actors, for me, most don't stand out for me.
I kind of agree.
It's one of the reasons why I'm such an Anne Hathaway fan, because she's the only kind of actress that stands out for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few here and there, but I kind of agree with you. They just don't, I don't know, they don't pop as well, I guess.
I like Carey Mulligan. I just don't know if you put her in any of the costumes.
Which one's that again?
She's been in where is she? She did it in Education. She did that Wall Street.
Oh right, yeah, I know who you're talking about. She might make an interesting Harley Quinn after seeing her in Shame. I think I think she could play crazy. I think she'd be a fun role for Harley Quinn.
Because speaking of female, you know, actresses or whatever, what's her name that's playing the new Lois Lane? I think is kind of a terrible. Amy Adams. I love Amy Adams. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think she's Lois Lane by any means. So, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to turn out. But
this is when she can go, Clark, help me! I mean Superman.
Yeah. God.
Then I'll be fine.
Terrible.
That's all Lois's character. But
pretty much. Well, I don't know. Like. She's that stern, like, reporter sometimes, but not enough. They never show her that way very well.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask me my favorite version of Lois Lane, it would be from The Adventures of Lois and Clark from the TV show, which I still say is really underrated. But I like it. I think it's got a lot of really good episodes.
Dean Cain was pretty good.
Actually, if kind of getting off topic, but Dean Cain was in a Lifetime movie like a couple of months ago called Operation Cupcakes, and like it was one of those like I woke up and my mom was watching it, and I'm just like,
you finished it.
Well, no, I didn't finish it. It was one of those just because the storyline was of a army sergeant guy who was going into retirement and coming home after a long time, and his wife was having trouble getting her cupcake store up and running. So he has to go from being a military lifestyle to running a cupcake shop. And the guy who plays the army guy is basically Superman.
My goodness.
And it's just like, oh my god, he's fallen so low.
Yeah. Went from Superman to Operation Cupcakes. My god.
And the weird thing is that the way he plays the role, it's very much like how he plays Clark in the Adventures of Lois and Clark. I was just like, oh my god, I can't watch Clark Kent make cupcakes.
Yeah, poor actors, man. They will fall. They will fall from grace big time. Back on the Batman villains real quick. Your interpretation of Mr. Freeze was actually really good. I don't know if you mentioned it.
Yeah, I don't think I actually got a chance to mention who would play him. I think Patrick Stewart would be a really interesting Mr. Freeze, mainly because he's an older gentleman, and I think that's one thing that was the most wrong with Batman and Robin's Mr. Freeze was that
you didn't like the governor?
Not really.
God.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
Chill. It's the best line ever.
Who do you cast as Nora as his love interest?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Back to female.
Well,
Who?
I just think it's
What-
important.
Who?
Yeah,
What was
wasn't
the
she
name?
blonde
Uh,
in the cartoons?
okay. I'm gonna say that she has black hair because the person I envision is the person who played Donna Troy in Star Trek. The
It's
psychic.
not ringing a bell
Okay,
on my
sorry,
end.
I'm probably the only Star Trek guy here. But you know the Betazoid. Is it a Betazoid? Yeah. I'm not
This
up to
inner conflict.
yeah, I'm sure Trekkie fans are just going, "What the fuck are you doing for our cause, man?"
Yeah.
But yeah, basically the girl that Riker gets hooked up with.
Okay.
So
See, my whole thing with Mr. Freeze is, I get it. Like, that's a big part of his story is he's doing research to find a cure for his wife. Like, I get it. But I think every single story that you've seen Mr. Freeze in, it's been about that. And I want to see him do something else. Like, even in Arkham City, which I love, but it's just him trying to find a cure. And I'm like, I really think they should come up with a good Mr. Freeze, like, offshoot of, like...
Well, not just that, but I think with a Batman movie, if you want to make it really interesting now, instead of doing, like, an Avengers where you have heroes team up, have the villains team up to take out one superhero. And there are two heroes that you can do that with. Spider-Man and Batman.
Oh,
because
I want to see a Sinister Six so bad.
Me too. But both their rogue galleries...
Yeah.
are just fantastic, and there's great ways for you to wrap up multiple characters into one story.
Right.
And with Batman, if you're going to make another one, I think that you would need to do something along those lines where you have the villains actually team up. Not so much like Batman Forever, where it's mostly just Riddler.
Right.
And Two-Face is just
there every once in a while to flip a coin.
Yeah. Or, because I would say the closest it gets is Batman Returns. Because Catwoman and Penguin do team up, and their plan is relatively intricate with each other. But
well, technically, the best example is the Adam West Batman movie.
True.
But...
Yeah. The movie is
Arkham
amazing.
City does it all right, because you've got
They
Ra's al Ghul and Strange teaming up, essentially, to create this big...
And I got into a conversation with the gentleman at the comic book shop, and he said he doesn't like multiple villains in a movie. And I was like, I have to completely disagree, because I really would like to see that. Why not give us a movie where it's the villains teaming up to take out... Because everybody knows the hero is unstoppable in whatever he does. So why not, like, push us to the brink where it's like, man, they might kill Batman, or they might kill Spider-Man.
Well, see, actually kind of going off topic, the one thing I liked about Dark of the Moon when it came to the Transformers movie was the scene where they almost killed Bumblebee.
No,
Here, the thing with that was that when they killed Optimus in 2, you knew the moment that he died, he was coming back.
Yeah.
Because you know that they didn't have the balls that the cartoon movie that came out 20 years beforehand had. But the moment
that's in general, they cannot kill characters. I mean, that's.
But here's the thing: I never even considered walking into that theater that Bumblebee dying would be a possibility.
But they made you believe it.
Yeah, but when it happened, and when you saw him on the ground and the other character pointing a gun towards his head, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
I know they're not going to do it, but still, the fact that that they're using this as a drama tool, I thought that was interesting.
Right.
So, I think one thing that would be interesting that you could do is that you could have, like, going back to a Justice League movie, like, maybe have it, like, with Superman. Have Superman fail. Like, have him lose against General Zod, but still, like, in a Doomsday kind of way where he still beats the hero.
Right.
And then you can have the other characters trying to team up to resurrect Superman.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. Or, like, Batman's trapped in the Infinity Zone. It just have it where, like, maybe you could have one character fall and then have the other characters rescue him.
Right. Well, and here's my thing, and I just said it dabbled on it a little bit. Comic books have done this so bad, they're so guilty of it, they can't kill a character.
Mm-hmm.
And back on Dark Knight Rises, I really thought they were going to kill Batman, but obviously nobody has the balls to kill anybody. But like in your version of, I don't know, a prominent like hero movie, would you ever kill? Because like I would try to make it where it can be resolved. Or let's take Batman for example. If I actually did a Batman movie, I would love to have maybe not Robin, but like Red Robin or Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
I would have them maybe kill Batman, but they defuse the situation. Okay. I still think, because I think it could really take the audience by
Here's
storm.
the thing. Going back to what I was saying, what I would like to adapt, Devilman. Giant spoilers for how Devilman ends. The thing is, Devilman dies at the hands of Satan at the very end of the story. And
Satan, really?
Yeah.
Who plays Satan?
Mark Wahlberg.
Or what is it?
Now.
Who played the devil in Legend? Was it Tim Curry?
Yeah.
He would be a great devil.
But what you could have is one of the reasons why I like his character dying as much, even though Devilman dies, you have the Satan character remorsing over the fact that he has killed his enemy and his lover, and at the same time, you can see that Satan is defeated emotionally. Like, you can have the character die and lose, but still have the villain left empty.
What it kind of sounds like what you're saying, and what goes back to Batman here, is it's like, the problem isn't so much how the filmmakers are handling it. The problem is that you're handing these properties to a filmmaker first and not to a writer first. Like, if you take Batman and you want to go in a new direction here in a few years, you give it back to guys who actually know the characters, know the stories first. They're not going to retell the same stories. They're not going to, turn these characters into the cliche cardboard cutouts like you were saying Mr. Freeze seems to gets done a lot. So if you give it to Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and you work on creating something that is already engaged people in the spin-off DVD movies that you're getting from essentially the animated series or the video games, you finally get something that can engage all of the things you really want to see in a decent movie, and not just some filmmaker saying, well, this is my vision, this is my world, and screw the rest of you.
Right.
Right,
and I think that is the one thing that is the most wrong with the Nolan movies, is that it is his vision of Batman, and his vision of Batman is that Batman is a symbol, and I think it's one of those, I think Superman's a symbol in the comic book world, but not Batman. Batman's just a dark hero.
right.
But going along the lines of just something else I didn't like about the Nolan movies real quick, I don't like how people call them realistic, because they're not realistic. No. You have earthquake machines, you have machines that turn water into just vapor in seconds. And none of that is realistic. None of it.
You've got an individual creating military-type weapons out of his, essentially, basement or warehouse of his company,
Yeah, I agree.
But, because you totally didn't just step outside real quick.
Of course not.
He's here the whole damn time.
We're talking about realism again?
No, we're just... Anyway, well, I think we've run on for long enough, so we're going to go ahead and end it here. So, real quick, if you want to send us an email, send it to drunkenwizardpodcast at gmail.com. Our Twitter is drunkenwizardsp. Mine is CJ Hitchcock.
And mine's at Comedy Vera.
All right, and
youtube.com/22Trenton217.
All right, and
I don't know where I'm on
awesome. All right. So you're just like Donovan. The internet is just a mysterious thing to you.
It's a series of tubes, I hear.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. What is internet?
I had Instant Messenger once.
Was that AOL when it did like the dial-up? Yeah, I thought so.
AIM all the way.
Didn't we all?
Yeah.
Didn't we all?
All right. So on that note, this is Drunken Wizards for this week, and remember, never use magic under the influence.
Got it.
I'll try not to.